The Apple Watches came out of their boxes with that distinctive crackling sound. You know the one, when expensive wrapping paper tears just right. I sat there frozen, fork halfway to my mouth, watching my sister's kids squeal like it was their birthdays and Christmas rolled into one. Mom's hands started shaking. She set down the carving knife real slow, like she was afraid it might slip. Her face went pale, that awful kind of pale where you know someone's heart just broke, but they're too polite to say it out loud. We all agreed, she whispered. Nobody heard her except me. Let me back up a second. My name's Calder Hayes, and I'm not the kind of guy who starts drama. Never have been. I'm the one who shows up early to help set the table, who shovels the driveway without being asked, who fixes the squeaky door hinge that's been driving Mom crazy for 3 months. That's just who I am. This whole mess started 2 weeks before Christmas, on a family video call. Mom had been real clear about it. No gifts this year, she'd said, her voice firm in that gentle way of hers. Let's just be together. We all have enough. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. I'd felt nothing but relief when she said it. See, this past year had beaten me down pretty good. Lost my job in March when the company downsized. My divorce got finalized in October. That cost me more than just money, if you know what I mean. Then my water heater decided to die right before Thanksgiving, and there went the last bit of my savings. So yeah, a Christmas with no pressure to buy expensive stuff? That sounded like a gift itself. I should have known better. I should have known my sister Delora would find a way around it. Delora's 5 years older than me, and she's always been the type who needs everyone to know she's doing well. Real well. Her husband Grayson sells used cars, but acts like he's running a Fortune 500 company. They've got 2 teenagers, Mara and Brett, who wouldn't know the word no if it hit them in the face. Every Christmas, it's the same show. Delora arrives late, makes a big entrance, wearing something that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Meanwhile, I'm already inside helping Mom baste the ham and trying to fix whatever's broken this time. I never said anything about it before. Family's family, right? You just deal with it. But this year felt different. This year, Mom had set a boundary, and I actually believed my sister would respect it. Stupid, I know. Christmas Eve, I showed up at Mom's farmhouse around noon. The old place sits on the edge of rural Pennsylvania, surrounded by fields that go white and quiet when it snows. Dad used to hang a big wreath on the fence post every December. That stopped 3 years ago when he passed. I brought 2 casseroles and a bottle of wine. Nothing fancy, but thoughtful. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine. Mom was humming while she worked in the kitchen, and for the first time in months, I felt my chest loosen up a bit. Then the doorbell rang. Delora swept in like a storm, all laughter and perfume and cold air. Her coat looked brand new, some kind of fur thing that probably had its own insurance policy. Grayson followed behind her, juggling these shiny red boxes wrapped with gold bows. Big ones. Expensive-looking ones. My stomach dropped. Mom's face went from happy to confused real fast. Delora, she said carefully. I thought we agreed. Oh, these aren't gifts, Mom. Delora waved her hand like she was swatting away a fly. She had this fake laugh she does, the one that sounds like she's in on a joke nobody else understands. Just small surprises. You know how the kids get. Small surprises. Right. Mara and Brett didn't even wait. They tore into those packages like wolves on fresh meat. White boxes appeared, glossy and perfect, with that little Apple logo catching the light from the Christmas tree. Apple Watches. Brand new ones. The expensive kind. 2 of them. The room went dead quiet except for the fire crackling in the fireplace. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Just sat there staring at those watches while the kids squealed and Delora smiled, and Mom's hands started shaking. Delora. Mom tried again, her voice smaller now. You said. Oh, Mom, don't make a scene. Delora rolled her eyes. Rolled. Her. Eyes. It's Christmas. I watched my mother's face crumple just a little. That look when someone realizes the rules they set don't matter, that their voice doesn't carry weight in their own home. She just nodded, picked up a dish towel, and pretended everything was fine. But I saw it. That flicker of hurt in her eyes, quick as lightning but twice as painful. It wasn't about the watches themselves. It was about what they meant. That respect was optional. That mom's wishes could be ignored if you had enough money to throw around. That some people in this family got to play by different rules. Dinner that night tasted like ashes in my mouth. Grayson bragged about his sales numbers. Delora laughed too loud at her own jokes. Mom kept trying to steer conversations towards safe topics, the weather, old memories, anything that wouldn't cause friction. I pushed mashed potatoes around my plate and wondered when fairness became something only some people had to worry about. After dessert, Mom caught my eye and nodded toward the hallway. I followed her to the coat closet where nobody could see us. She pressed a small envelope into my hand. "Just a little something," she whispered. I opened it. A Christmas card with a $50 bill inside. My throat went tight.
Mom, no.
"You don't have to." She closed my hand around it, her fingers cold and thin. "You've had a rough year, Calder. Let me do this." That gesture, that small, humble, beautiful gesture, meant more to me than any Apple Watch ever could. It meant someone saw me. Someone cared. I hugged her tight and tried not to let her see my eyes water. When I looked up, Delora was standing at the end of the hallway, watching us. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. The next morning, everyone packed up to leave. Delora and Grayson loaded their car with leftovers and shiny boxes. The kids barely said goodbye, too busy syncing their new watches. I stayed behind to help Mom clean up. She looked exhausted, older somehow. "I wish your father were here," she said quietly, scrubbing a plate that was already clean. "He'd know what to do." I wanted to tell her she did fine. That standing up to Delora was impossible, like trying to argue with a hurricane. But I just nodded and kept drying dishes. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Hayes? This is Clinton and Ward Legal Associates. Your mother recently updated her estate documents. We'd like to schedule a time to discuss the revisions." My blood turned to ice. What revisions? Delora always got away with everything. Always. When we were kids, she'd steal cookies from the jar and blame it on me. I'd be the one sitting in the corner while she watched TV, smirking. She'd borrow my birthday money and never pay it back. Mom would say, "She's older, she needs it more." I learned early that fairness wasn't something I could count on. Dad saw through her, though. He'd shake his head when she'd pull her stunts, but he never said much. That wasn't his way. He was the quiet type, worked at the steel plant for 38 years, came home tired every night, but always made time to fix something broken. A fence.
A bike.
A kid's broken heart. When he passed 3 years ago, something shifted in our family. Like the person holding us all together just disappeared, and suddenly we were all floating in different directions. Delora got louder. More demanding. She'd call Mom 3 times a day, always needing something. Advice, money, validation. And Mom, God bless her, she gave it all. Me? I just kept showing up. Fixing the porch steps. Cleaning the gutters. Being there without making it a production. But that never seemed to count for much. Christmas was always Delora's stage. She'd arrive in whatever new car Grayson had gotten a deal on, wearing clothes that screamed, "Look at me." Her kids would have the latest phones, the newest sneakers, everything brand name and shiny. I'd show up in my 10-year-old truck with homemade food and whatever small gift I could afford. Nobody ever made a fuss about what I brought. It was just expected. Year after year, I watched the show. Watched Delora play the perfect daughter, the successful wife, the mother who had it all together. Watched people fawn over her while I blended into the wallpaper. And I told myself it didn't matter. That I wasn't in competition with my sister. That being a good person was enough. But deep down, it burned. Every single time. This year, when Mom said no gifts, I actually felt hope. Like maybe, just maybe, we could have one holiday where it wasn't about who spent the most or looked the best. Where we could just be family without the performance. That hope died the second those Apple Watches came out. I remember the exact moment. Mara pulled hers out first, squealing so loud, I thought the windows might crack. Brett followed, holding his up like he'd won the lottery. The watches caught the light from the Christmas tree, all glossy and perfect. Grayson leaned back in his chair, grinning. "Guess Santa still delivers to the rich," he said, like it was the funniest joke in the world. Nobody laughed except Delora. I looked at Mom. Really looked at her. She was standing by the turkey, carving knife in hand, and I swear I saw her eyes water. Just for a second. Then she blinked it away and smiled that smile she does when she's pretending everything's fine. That smile broke something in me. Because this wasn't just about gifts anymore. This was about power. About Delora proving she could do whatever she wanted and nobody would stop her. About Mom's feelings being secondary to my sister's need to show off.
I wanted to say something.
Wanted to stand up and call it out. But what would I say? That I was jealous? That I was hurt Mom's wishes didn't matter? That watching my sister win again made me feel like a failure? So I stayed quiet. Like always. The rest of dinner was torture. Delora dominated every conversation, talking about their upcoming vacation to Cancun, the new furniture they'd bought, how Brett made the travel basketball team. Grayson chimed in with stories about clients and deals and money. Always money. Mom kept trying to include me. "Calder's been helping me fix up the house," she'd say. Or, "Calder makes the best casseroles." But those comments just hung in the air like sad little balloons, ignored by everyone except me. When dessert came out, I barely touched my pie. My stomach was in knots. I kept watching Delora, trying to figure out what game she was playing. Because with her, it was always a game. That's when Mom slipped me the envelope under the table. Her hand was shaking when she pressed it into mine. "Just a little something," she whispered, so quiet I almost didn't hear her. I opened it carefully, trying not to draw attention. Inside was a Christmas card with a $50 bill. Nothing fancy. Just a card that said, "Merry Christmas," and a note in Mom's shaky handwriting. "For my son, who always shows up." My throat closed up. That $50 probably came from her grocery budget. She didn't have money to spare, I knew that. But she gave it anyway because she saw me struggling and wanted to help. That's the difference between real love and performance. Real love costs something. It gives when it's hard to give. It sees you when nobody else is looking. I wanted to refuse it, to tell her to keep it, but I knew it would hurt her feelings. So I just squeezed her hand and mouthed, "Thank you." When I looked up, Delora was staring at us. She'd seen the whole thing. Her expression was hard to read, something between curiosity and calculation. She raised an eyebrow. "What's that, Mom?" "Secret gifts." "Just a card," Mom said quickly, her voice tight. Delora smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. How sweet. The way she said it made my skin crawl. We finished dessert in uncomfortable silence. The kids disappeared to try out their new watches. Grayson turned on the football game. Delora helped Mom clear dishes, talking too loud about nothing important. I excused myself and stepped outside. The cold air hit my face like a slap, and I sucked in deep breaths, trying to calm down. The snow had stopped falling. Everything was quiet and white and still. I stayed out there longer than I should have, just staring at the old fence post where Dad used to hang the wreath. I wished he was still here. He'd know what to do. He'd know how to handle Delora without causing a scene. But he wasn't here, and I was on my own. When I came back inside, Delora was by the door, putting on her expensive coat. "Leaving already?" I asked. She glanced at me, still wearing that calculating smile. "Early morning tomorrow. You know how it is." I didn't know. I never lived the kind of life where you rushed off to important plans and busy schedules. She leaned in close, her perfume overwhelming. "You know, Calder, you should really think about your future. Mom's not getting any younger. Someone needs to make sure she's taken care of properly." The way she said properly made my blood run cold. "I take care of her," I said quietly. "Do you?" She tilted her head. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're barely taking care of yourself." Before I could respond, she swept out the door, calling goodbye to Mom in that fake cheerful voice. I stood there, fists clenched, trying to understand what just happened. Was that a threat? A warning? 2 weeks later, I found out. The call came on a Tuesday morning. I was drinking coffee, scrolling through job listings when my phone rang. Mr. Hayes? This is Clinton and Ward Legal Associates. My heart stopped. Your mother recently updated her estate documents. We'd like to schedule a time to discuss the revisions with you. Revisions? My voice came out strangled. What kind of revisions? We'd prefer to discuss this in person. Are you available this week? I made an appointment for the next day. Hung up. Sat there staring at my phone. Mom had changed her will. And something told me Delora's fingerprints were all over it. The law office smelled like old paper and furniture polish. The kind of place where serious things happen behind closed doors. I sat in the waiting room, leg bouncing, trying not to think the worst. But my mind kept going back to that Christmas dinner. To Delora's calculating smile. To her comment about Mom not getting any younger. Mr. Hayes? A young guy in a press suit appeared. I'm Ryan Ward. Thanks for coming in. He led me to a small conference room and handed me a folder.
Sealed.
Official looking. Your mother came in 2 days after Christmas, he said. She seemed uncertain, but determined. 2 days after Christmas. Right after Delora's visit. My hands shook as I opened the folder. Legal documents, dense with words I had to read 3 times to understand. But the bottom line was clear enough. The farmhouse, Dad's farmhouse, the one he'd worked his whole life to pay off, was being split differently now. Mom's half would go to Delora and Grayson when she passed. Not to me.
To them.
I stared at the paper until the words blurred. This is recent? I managed to ask. Signed and notarized on December 27th. Ward shifted uncomfortably. Is there a problem? A problem? Where did I even start? Did she seem pressured? Was anyone with her? She came alone. But she did mention her daughter had been helping her understand her options. Of course she did. I left that office in a daze. Drove around for an hour, not really seeing the roads. My mind was racing, trying to piece it together. Delora had been helping Mom. That's what she'd been doing with all those phone calls. All those visits. Not helping. Positioning. Planning. And I'd missed it completely. When I got home, I couldn't sit still.
Couldn't eat.
Couldn't think straight. I kept replaying every conversation, every moment from Christmas, looking for signs I'd ignored. That $50 bill Mom gave me. Had that been guilt? Had she already signed the papers by then? Was she trying to make up for what she'd done?
No.
No, that wasn't Mom. She wouldn't do this on her own. Delora got to her. Somehow, my sister had convinced our mother that cutting me out was the right thing to do. I grabbed my phone and almost called Delora right then. Almost demanded answers.
But something stopped me.
If I confronted her now, while I was angry and hurt, I'd lose. She'd twist it around, make me look like the jealous brother, the failure who couldn't accept that she was the successful one. I needed to think.
To be smart about this.
So instead, I called Mom. Called her. She sounded happy to hear from me. How are you, honey? Good, Mom. Just calling to check in. I kept my voice steady. How are you feeling? Oh, you know. Same old, same old. My knee's been acting up. We talked about nothing for a few minutes. The weather. Her neighbor's new dog. The leak in the basement I'd need to fix soon. I didn't mention the will. Didn't let on that I knew. But I listened carefully to everything she said, every pause, every hesitation. And I heard it, that tiredness in her voice. Like she was carrying something heavy. Has Delora been by lately? I asked casually. Oh yes, she's been wonderful. Helping me with bills and appointments. You know how confusing all that paperwork gets. My jaw tightened. That's nice of her. She suggested I organize my affairs better. Get everything in order. Just in case. Just in case. What a convenient suggestion. Mom, you know I'm happy to help with that stuff too, right? Anytime you need me. I know, sweetheart. But you're so busy with your job search and everything. Delora has more time. More time. More influence. More opportunity to manipulate. We hung up after a few more minutes. I sat there holding my phone, a plan slowly forming in my mind. If Delora wanted to play dirty, fine. But I wasn't going to fight her with anger or accusations. I was going to fight her the way Dad would have, quietly, steadily, with truth on my side. Over the next few weeks, I started showing up more. Not in obvious ways that would tip Delora off, but consistently. Every Sunday, I'd visit Mom with groceries, fix whatever needed fixing, cook meals, and stock her freezer. I'd stay and talk, really talk, about Dad, about old memories, about what mattered in life. I never mentioned the will, never brought up Delora, unless Mom did first. And slowly, I started to see the cracks in my sister's carefully constructed story. Mom would mention things in passing, how Delora always seemed rushed during visits, how she'd show up with papers for Mom to sign but never really explained what they were, how she'd changed Mom's bank to one with better rates that happened to have Delora as a co-signer. I didn't react, just listened and filed it all away. One Sunday, while Mom was napping, I was cleaning her kitchen and found an envelope in her desk drawer, the one where she kept important papers. It was marked insurance policies in Delora's handwriting. My heart started pounding. I knew I shouldn't look. This was Mom's private business. But I couldn't help it. I opened it. Inside was a document I'd never seen before. A beneficiary change form for Mom's life insurance policy. The kind Dad had taken out years ago to make sure Mom would be okay if something happened to him. The new beneficiary wasn't Mom. It was Delora and Grayson. Both of them, listed as primary. I was listed as contingent, meaning I'd only get anything if they were both dead first. The form was dated late December, right after Christmas. My hands started shaking. This wasn't just about the house anymore. Delora hadn't just influenced one decision. She'd systematically worked to control everything. The will, the insurance, who knows what else. This wasn't greed. This was premeditated. I took photos of everything with my phone, put the papers back exactly as I'd found them. My mind was racing, but I forced myself to stay calm. I needed help. Professional help. That's when I called Harlan. Harlan Moss had been Dad's friend for 40 years. They'd worked together at the steel plant, drunk beer on Friday nights, fixed each other's cars. When Dad got sick, Harlan visited every week, without fail. After he retired, Harlan had spent a few years working as a legal consultant, nothing fancy, just helping regular people understand contracts and wills and all the paperwork that comes with getting older. If anyone could help me, it was him. We met at a diner on the edge of town. Harlan looked older than I remembered, more gray in his beard, deeper lines around his eyes. But when he saw me, he smiled that warm smile that reminded me of Dad. Calder Hayes. Been too long, son. We ordered coffee and I laid it all out. The Christmas disaster. The changed will. The insurance papers. Everything. Harlan listened without interrupting, his expression getting darker with each detail I shared. When I finished, he sat back and let out a long breath. Your sister's been busy, he said quietly. Can she do this? Is it even legal? Legal? Technically, yes. If your mother signed the papers willingly, there's nothing automatically illegal about it.
He paused.
But willing is a complicated word when someone's being manipulated. So what do I do? Harlan studied me for a long moment. You fight back, but not the way you want to. You can't go in angry, calling your sister a thief and your mother a victim. That'll just make things worse. Then how? You do exactly what you've been doing. You show up. You be present. You let your mother see the difference between real care and performance. He leaned forward. And you document everything. Every visit Delora makes. Every paper she has your mother sign. Every dollar that moves. That sounds like I'm investigating my own family. You are. Because your sister's not acting like family anymore. She's acting like a vulture. Those words hit hard. But they were true. Harlan pulled out a notepad and started writing. I can draft some documents for you. A revocation of the changes. A new estate plan that protects your mother and honors your father's wishes. But your mother has to be the one to sign them. Willingly. Without pressure. What if she won't? Then you've done everything you can. He looked at me seriously. But I don't think it'll come to that. Your mother's not stupid, Calder. She's just been fed a very convincing story by someone she trusts. Once she sees the truth, she'll make the right choice. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. We spent the next hour going over details. Harlan explained what evidence I'd need, what questions to ask, how to approach Mom without making her defensive. This isn't about winning, he reminded me. It's about protecting someone you love from someone who's stopped caring about anything but money. When we left the diner, I felt steadier. I had a plan. I had help. I wasn't alone anymore. Over the next 2 weeks, I kept my routine. Visited Mom every Sunday. Fixed things.
Cooked. Talked.
I started paying more attention to what she said about Delora, not just the words, but the tone. And I noticed something. Mom seemed tired when she talked about my sister. Like Delora's help came with a weight attached to it. She's always telling me what I should do, Mom said one afternoon. We were sitting in the living room, her favorite soap opera playing in the background. Change this bank. Sign this paper. Update that form. It's exhausting. Does she explain why? I asked carefully. Mom frowned. She says it's for my own good. That I don't understand modern finances. Do you feel like you don't understand? She looked at me then, really looked at me. I'm old, Calder. Not stupid. I understand more than she thinks. That moment right there, that was when I knew she was starting to see it too. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you remember signing papers about the house? After Christmas? Her face changed. Guilt flickered across it, quick as lightning. Delora said it would be easier, she said quietly. She said you probably wouldn't want to deal with country property. That you had enough on your plate with finding work and everything. My chest tightened. Mom, I love this place. It's Dad's legacy. I'd never see it as a burden. That's what I thought. Her voice was small, but she was so insistent. And I didn't want to seem ungrateful. She'd been helping so much. There it was. The manipulation laid bare. Delora had made Mom feel like she owed her. Like disagreeing would be ungrateful. I took Mom's hand. It felt so fragile in mine. You don't owe anyone anything, I said firmly. And you're allowed to change your mind. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Did I make a mistake? We all make mistakes. What matters is fixing them. She squeezed my hand. Your father would be proud of you. That's when I told her about Harlan, about the documents he was preparing, about how we could undo everything Delora had done. It's your choice, Mom. Always your choice. But if you want to change things back, I'll help you. No pressure. No judgment. She was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. I want to see those papers. 2 days later, Harlan and I met Mom at her house. We spread the documents out on the kitchen table, the same table where we'd had that awful Christmas dinner. Harlan explained everything in simple terms. The revocation of the recent changes. A new living trust that would protect the property. Clear instructions that honored Dad's original wishes. Mom read every word, asked questions, made sure she understood. Then she picked up the pen. Her hand was shaking, but her signature was firm. When she finished, she looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not giving up on me. Never, I said. I'll never give up on you. We filed the papers that afternoon. Harlan made copies of everything and stored them in 3 separate places: his office, a safe deposit box, and with another attorney friend who agreed to serve as a witness if needed. Everything was legal. Everything was documented. Everything was done right. I drove home that evening feeling lighter than I had in months. Justice was quiet. It didn't shout or make a scene. It just happened, one signature at a time. I knew the storm was coming, though. Delora would find out eventually. And when she did, there'd be hell to pay. I was right. 3 days later, my phone exploded with calls. Delora. 15 missed calls in 2 hours. I was at the grocery store when she finally caught me. I answered on the 8th ring. You son of a... Hi, Delora. What did you do? She was screaming. Actually screaming. What did you do to Mom? I helped her understand her options. You manipulated her. You turned her against me. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. I didn't manipulate anyone. I just made sure she knew the truth. The truth. She laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. The truth is you're a jealous, pathetic failure who can't stand to see me succeed. I stayed calm. Dad's voice in my head. Don't fight fire with fire. Fight it with water. I'm sorry you feel that way. You'll regret this, Calder. Her voice dropped low. Dangerous. When Mom's gone, you'll see what fairness really means. You'll see what you've done. Then she hung up. I stood there in the cereal aisle, phone still pressed to my ear, and realized something important. I wasn't afraid of her anymore. The threats started small. Text messages. Voicemails. Delora telling me I was ungrateful, that I'd stolen from her, that I destroyed the family. I saved every single one. Harlan had told me to document everything, and I did. Grayson called too, trying to sound reasonable. Look, man, let's just talk about this. Family doesn't need to fight over money. But that's exactly what we were fighting over.
And he knew it.
I blocked their numbers after the 10th call. Changed Mom's locks after Delora showed up unannounced one evening, demanding to talk sense into her. Mom stood firm though. For the first time I could remember, she told Delora no. You need to leave, Mom said, her voice shaking but strong. You need to leave and think about what you've done. Delora's face went red. What I've done? I've been taking care of you. Who do you think organized your medications? Your appointments? Your bills? And who asked you to do that? Mom shot back. I never asked you to take over my life, Delora. I just wanted help. This is ridiculous. Delora grabbed her purse. You're going to regret this. Both of you. She stormed out. The house felt quieter after she left.
Calmer.
But Mom looked exhausted. She sat down heavily in her chair, and I noticed how thin she'd gotten. How pale. Mom, when's your next doctor's appointment? Thursday. But I can drive myself. I'll take you. She smiled weakly. You don't have to do that. I want to. The doctor's appointment revealed what I'd been afraid of. Mom's blood pressure was through the roof. Stress, the doctor said. Too much stress for someone her age. He prescribed medication and rest. You need to eliminate sources of stress in your life, he told her. Whatever's causing this, it needs to stop. In the car on the way home, Mom was quiet. I never wanted this, she said finally. Never wanted my children fighting. We're not fighting. She is. It's the same thing. I didn't argue.
But I knew she was wrong.
Standing up to a bully isn't fighting. It's protecting yourself. Over the next few weeks, I settled into a new routine. I'd visit Mom 3 times a week instead of just Sundays. Made sure she took her medication. Cooked healthy meals.
Kept her company.
She started looking better. Laughing more. The color came back to her cheeks. We didn't talk about Delora much. When we did, Mom would just shake her head sadly. I don't know what happened to her, she'd say. She used to be such a sweet girl. I remembered that girl. The one who'd let me play with her toys sometimes. Who'd walk me to school when I was scared. Who'd cried at Dad's funeral and held my hand during the service. That girl was gone. Or maybe she'd never really existed. Maybe I just wanted to believe she did. One evening, I was going through Mom's mail, helping her sort bills from junk, when I found something that made my blood run cold. A letter from a mortgage company, offering to refinance the house that had been paid off for 15 years. I opened it carefully. Inside was a partially filled application. Mom's information, property details, and at the bottom, in Delora's handwriting, we'll follow up next week. Mom hadn't seen this letter. It had come to her mailbox, but Delora must have grabbed it during one of her visits and started the process without Mom's knowledge. She'd been planning to put a mortgage on the house, to extract equity, to drain what little wealth Mom had left. I showed the letter to Harlan the next day. His face went hard. This crosses a line. This is financial exploitation. What can we do? We report it, and we make damn sure your mother's finances are locked down tight. No more surprises. We spent that afternoon putting safeguards in place. Fraud alerts on Mom's credit. notifications for any attempted account changes, a trusted contact at her bank who would call me if anything unusual happened. Delora tried once more to access Mom's accounts. The bank called me immediately. "Mr. Hayes, we have someone here claiming to be your mother's representative. They're requesting account information." "Don't give them anything," I said. "I'll be right there." I arrived at the bank in 10 minutes. Delora was standing at the counter, arguing with the teller. When she saw me, her eyes went dark. "You," she hissed. "Me," I agreed.
Leave. Now.
"This is none of your business." "It's exactly my business. I'm Mom's financial power of attorney now. Legally. On paper. Which means you have no access to anything anymore." The color drained from her face. "You manipulative piece of—" "Ma'am," the bank manager interrupted. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave. If you continue to cause a disturbance, I'll call security." Delora looked between us, her face twisted with rage. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out. I never saw her at Mom's house again after that day. But the damage was done. The stress had taken its toll. 3 months later, Mom's health started declining. Not suddenly, just gradually.
She was tired all the time.
Her appetite disappeared. She'd forget things mid-sentence. The doctor ran tests. Found nothing definitive. "Sometimes," he said gently, "the body just gets tired. At her age, with everything she's been through." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I moved into the farmhouse to take care of her. Set up a bedroom on the first floor, so she wouldn't have to climb stairs. Cooked her favorite meals. Read to her in the evenings. She'd talk about Dad a lot. About their life together. About the dreams they'd had. "I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of this," she said one night. "You didn't do anything wrong, Mom." I should have seen what she was doing. Should have been stronger. "You were strong. You're strong. You stood up to her when it mattered." She smiled. "Your father would have liked how you handled this. Quiet.
Steady.
Just like him." That meant everything to me. 2 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning, Mom didn't wake up. She'd passed in her sleep.
Peacefully.
No pain. I sat with her for a long time, holding her hand, saying goodbye to the woman who'd given me everything that mattered. The funeral was small. Mom had wanted it that way. Just close friends and family. Delora showed up in black designer clothes, playing the grieving daughter. People who didn't know the truth hugged her, offered condolences. She cried on cue. I wanted to be angry, wanted to expose her right there. But that's not what Mom would have wanted. So I stayed quiet, kept my dignity, let her have her performance. After the burial, we gathered at the farmhouse for the reading of the will. The attorney, a new one someone Harlan had recommended, stood before us with the documents. Delora sat across from me, Grayson beside her. She looked confident, like she knew something I didn't. The attorney cleared his throat and began to read. And that's when everything finally, truly, came full circle. The attorney's voice filled the quiet room like a church bell.
Steady. Clear.
Final. Last will and testament of Ruth Marie Hayes. I watched Delora lean forward slightly, her designer handbag clutched in her lap. Grayson had his arm around her shoulders, playing the supportive husband. They looked like they belonged in a magazine spread about grief. But I saw the calculation in my sister's eyes. She thought she'd won. Thought all her manipulation and scheming had paid off. The attorney adjusted his glasses and continued reading. "I, Ruth Marie Hayes, being of sound mind and body, do hereby revoke all previous wills and codicils." Delora's expression didn't change, but I saw her fingers tighten on her purse. "To my daughter, Delora Catherine Hayes Morrison, I leave the family photo album, kept in the living room cabinet. May she remember what truly matters when she looks through its pages." Silence. Dead silence. The attorney paused, glanced at Delora, then continued. "To my son, Calder Emmett Hayes, who showed me that love is measured not by gifts or promises but by actions, I leave the Hayes family farmhouse and all associated property, including the land, outbuildings, and contents therein. I leave him my savings accounts, investment accounts, and all remaining assets, to do with as he sees fit." I couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
Just sat there as the words washed over me. It is my wish, the attorney read on, that this property remain in the family, but I trust my son's judgment completely. He has proven himself worthy of his father's legacy through consistent care, genuine love, and unwavering integrity. Delora's face had gone from confident to confused to absolutely white. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. That's it, she finally choked out. A photo album? The attorney looked at her over his glasses. That's what the will states, yes. This is insane. She jumped to her feet. She wasn't in her right mind. Calder manipulated her, Mrs. Morrison, the attorney interrupted calmly, your mother was evaluated by 2 independent physicians before signing this will. Both confirmed she was of sound mind and acting of her own free will. Their statements are attached to the document. I want to see them. You're welcome to request copies through proper legal channels. Grayson stood up, his face red. This isn't over. We'll contest this. Will. You're welcome to try, the attorney said. But I should warn you, Mrs. Hayes was very thorough. She documented her reasons extensively, including several incidents of financial manipulation and undue influence that occurred prior to revoking the earlier changes to her estate.
I hadn't known about that.
Mom had documented everything. Every visit from Delora. Every paper she'd been pressured to sign. Every time she'd felt manipulated or guilt. She'd been building a case, quietly, without telling me. Delora looked at me then. Really looked at me. And what I saw in her eyes wasn't just anger. It was hatred. Pure, undiluted hatred. You poisoned her against me, she said, her voice shaking. You took everything. I didn't take anything, I said quietly. I just loved her. That's all I ever did. Liar. She was screaming now, mascara starting to run down her cheeks. You're a jealous, vindictive. Mrs. Morrison, the attorney said firmly, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This reading is concluded. Grayson grabbed her arm, trying to pull her toward the door. But she shook him off, pointing at me with a trembling finger. This isn't over, Calder. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. I'll ruin you. Then you'll be lying, I said. Just like you've been lying for years. She lunged at me. Actually lunged. Grayson caught her around the waist, pulling her back. Let's go, he hissed. Let's just go. They left in a storm of fury and threats. The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. The attorney let out a long breath.
Well,
that was unpleasant. I just nodded, still processing everything. Your mother left you a letter, he said, pulling an envelope from the folder. She asked me to give it to you privately. My hands shook as I took it. The envelope was cream-colored, sealed with wax. Old-fashioned like Mom. I waited until I was alone in the farmhouse to open it. Sat at the kitchen table, the same one where everything had started that awful Christmas, and carefully broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper, covered in Mom's shaky handwriting. My dearest Calder, it began. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And I hope I've left this world, knowing I finally did something right. I'm sorry it took me so long to see what your sister had become. I'm sorry I let her manipulate me, pressure me, make me doubt my own instincts.
I'm sorry I hurt you.
But most of all, I'm sorry your father isn't here to see the man you've become. He would be so proud. I know I am. You showed me what real love looks like. Not flashy gifts or loud promises. Just steady, quiet presence. You fixed my house and my heart, bit by bit, never asking for anything in return. That's your father's legacy. And now it's yours to carry forward. The house is yours. Do with it what your heart tells you is right. I know you'll honor the memories it holds while making it something meaningful for others. Be happy, my son. Be free. And know that every decision I made at the end was mine alone, made with a clear mind and a grateful heart. All my love, Mom. I sat there crying for I don't know how long. Great, ugly sobs that came from somewhere deep inside. Crying for Mom. For Dad. For the family we used to be before money and greed tore us apart. But also crying with relief. Because Mom knew. She'd seen the truth, and she'd made sure justice was served, even from beyond the grave. When I finally pulled myself together, I walked through the house.
Really looked at it.
Every room held memories. Dad teaching me to fix the sink. Mom baking cookies on Christmas Eve. Family dinners that used to be happy before everything got complicated. This place was more than property.
It was history, love, pain.
Everything that makes a family real. And I knew exactly what I needed to do with it. The next few weeks were chaos. Delora hired a lawyer and filed a petition to contest the will. She claimed Mom had been mentally incompetent, that I'd coerced her, that the will was fraudulent. Every accusation was investigated, every claim examined, and every single one fell apart under scrutiny. The doctor's evaluations were solid. Mom's documentation was thorough. The timeline showed Delora's manipulation, not mine. Even the bank had records of her trying to access Mom's accounts without authorization. Her case got thrown out in less than a month. But the damage to our family was permanent. What little relationship we'd had was gone, burned to ash by greed and bitterness. Delora sent me one final text message. I hope you're happy. You destroyed this family.
I didn't respond.
There was nothing left to say. Instead, I focused on the house, on figuring out what to do with Dad's legacy. I could have sold it. The property was worth a decent amount. Could have taken the money, paid off my debts, started fresh somewhere new. But that felt wrong, like betraying everything Mom and Dad had worked for. One evening, I was sitting on the porch watching the sunset when I remembered something Mom had said near the end. Keep the house warm for people who need it. That's when the idea came to me. I called Harlan the next morning. I want to turn the house into a nonprofit, I said. A retreat for families who are struggling. A place where they can rest and recover without worrying about money. Harlan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Your father would love that. We spent the next 3 months setting it up. Filed the paperwork. Created a board of directors. Established guidelines and safety protocols. I named it the Emmett and Ruth Hayes Foundation. The house got renovated, but kept its character. We updated the plumbing and electrical, made it accessible, added safety features. But we kept Mom's kitchen table, Dad's workshop, the fence post where the Christmas wreath used to hang. We opened our doors in early fall. The first family who came was a young couple with 2 kids. The husband had lost his job. The wife was recovering from surgery. They were living in their car, bouncing between relatives' couches, trying to hold it together. They stayed for 2 weeks. We gave them space to breathe. Hot meals, a warm bed, no judgment, no pressure. When they left, the wife hugged me and cried. You saved us, she said. You gave us hope when we had none. That's when I knew Mom had been right. This was what the house was meant for. Not sitting empty as an investment. Not being fought over by greedy relatives. But being a home for people who needed one. More families came. A single mom escaping an abusive relationship. An elderly veteran dealing with medical bills. A teenager aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. Each one brought their pain and their stories. Each one left a little lighter, a little stronger. I hired a small staff, good people who understood what we were trying to do. The house was never empty, never silent. It was alive again, the way it used to be when Dad was here. Sometimes I'd walk through at night, after everyone was asleep, and I'd swear I could feel my parents there.
Proud.
Peaceful. Home. One afternoon in late November, almost a year after Mom passed, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. Mr. Hayes? This is Amanda Chen from the local news. We've been hearing about your foundation, and we'd love to do a story. I almost said no. This wasn't about publicity or recognition. But then I thought about all the families who didn't know places like this existed, who were suffering in silence, thinking they had no options. Okay, I said. Let's do it. The story ran the following week. They interviewed families who'd stayed with us, showed footage of the house, the land, the memories preserved within its walls. At the end, they asked me why I'd done it. I thought about that question for a long time before answering. My parents taught me that family isn't about blood or money, I said. It's about showing up. about being there when someone needs you, about doing what's right even when it's hard. The reporter nodded. And your sister? Any comment about the family dispute? I smiled. No comment. That's behind me now. The story went viral. Donations started coming in. Volunteers offered their time. Other communities reached out asking how to start similar programs. The foundation grew beyond anything I'd imagined. But the best part? One evening, I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when I heard a knock at the door. I opened it to find a woman in her 60s, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said, "but I saw the news story, and I just wanted to say thank you." For what? 20 years ago, my family lost everything. We had nowhere to go. No one who'd help us. We ended up homeless for 6 months. She wiped her eyes. If a place like this had existed then, it would have changed our lives. "You're doing something beautiful here." I invited her in, made her tea, listened to her story. When she left, I stood on the porch and looked out at the fields where I'd played as a kid, where Dad had taught me to throw a baseball, where Mom had hung laundry on summer afternoons. This land held so much pain and so much love, and now it was giving that love back to the world. That's when I finally understood what Mom meant in her letter. This wasn't just Dad's legacy. It was mine too, and I was going to honor it by making sure no family ever felt as alone as we'd felt during those dark months of fighting and betrayal. Winter came early that year. Snow started falling in late November, covering everything in quiet white. I was chopping firewood behind the house when my phone rang. Unknown number again. "Mr. Hayes?" Speaking. "This is Memorial Hospital. We have a patient here asking for you. A Delora Morrison." My heart stopped. What happened? "She was in a car accident. She's stable, but she's asking for family." I should have said no. Should have told them to call Grayson, or one of her friends. After everything she'd done, I owed her nothing. But I thought about Mom, about what she would have wanted. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. The hospital was bright and sterile, smelling like disinfectant and anxiety. A nurse led me to Delora's room on the 3rd floor. She looked small in that hospital bed. Her arm was in a cast, face bruised, hair matted. When she saw me, something broke in her expression. "You came," she whispered. "Yeah, I came." We sat in silence for a long moment. Machines beeped. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "For everything. For Christmas. For the will. For all of it." I wanted to believe her. Wanted to think she'd finally seen the light. But I'd learned the hard way not to trust easy apologies. "What happened?" I asked instead. "Grayson left me." She laughed bitterly. "Turns out he was only interested in the money we thought we'd get from Mom's estate. When that disappeared, so did he." "I'm sorry. Are you?" She looked at me. "Are you really?"
Yeah.
"I am. I never wanted your marriage to fall apart. But you wanted everything else. I wanted fairness. That's all I ever wanted." She closed her eyes. "I know. I just couldn't see it. All I could see was you being Mom's favorite. Getting all the attention. All the love." That's not how it was. That's how it felt. A tear slid down her bruised cheek. I spent my whole life trying to prove I was worth something. Trying to be successful enough, rich enough, good enough. And it was never enough. For the first time, I saw my sister clearly. Not as a villain or a manipulator. Just as someone deeply broken, chasing validation in all the wrong places. "You were always enough," I said quietly. "You just couldn't see it." She cried then. Really cried. The ugly kind that comes from years of pain finally breaking through. I didn't comfort her. Didn't reach out. Some wounds you have to feel before they can heal. When she finally stopped, she looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "I don't expect you to forgive me."
Good.
"Because I don't know if I can. But maybe." She hesitated. "Maybe someday?" I thought about Mom's letter. About the photo album Delora had inherited. About second chances and broken families, and the weight of carrying grudges. "Maybe," I said. Someday. If you do the work. What work? Figure out who you are without the performance. Without the money and the status. Just you. She nodded slowly. I don't even know where to start. Therapy. Honest conversations. Actually listening when people talk. I stood up. And stop blaming everyone else for your choices. That's fair. I walked to the door, then stopped. The foundation has a family counseling program. If you're serious about changing, we can help. Why would you help me? Because Mom would want me to, and because everyone deserves a chance to be better. I left before she could respond. Outside, snow was falling again. I stood in the parking lot letting flakes melt on my face, feeling lighter than I had in years. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant choosing not to carry poison in your heart. Whether Delora took the help or not was up to her. I'd done my part. Spring arrived with a rush of color. Daffodils pushed through the last patches of snow. The fields around the farmhouse turned green again. I was in the garden, Mom's old garden that I'd restored, when I heard voices from the house. Laughter. Children playing. A new family had arrived that morning. Young parents with 3 kids under 8. Their house had burned down in a freak accident. Insurance was dragging their feet. They had nowhere to go. So they came to us. I watched the kids chase each other around the yard, their laughter carrying on the wind. Their parents sat on the porch drinking coffee, actually smiling for the first time in weeks probably. This was what Mom meant. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'm 3 months into therapy. It's hard, but I'm trying. D. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back. That's good. Keep going. I didn't know if Delora and I would ever have a real relationship again. Maybe we wouldn't. Maybe too much damage had been done. But at least she was trying. And that was something. That evening, I was sitting on the porch when Harlan stopped by. He did that sometimes, checking in, making sure everything was running smooth. You've built something special here, he said, settling into the chair beside me. We built it. Couldn't have done it without you. No, son. This was always your vision. I just helped with paperwork. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the fields. Your dad would be proud, Harlan said eventually. Hell, I'm proud. Thanks. That means a lot. You know what the best part is? He smiled. You didn't let bitterness win. You could have taken that money and ran. Could have let what your sister did turn you into someone angry and hard. But you didn't. Mom wouldn't have wanted that. No. She wouldn't. He stood up, stretched. I better get home. Just wanted to stop by and tell you you're doing good work. After he left, I walked through the house one more time. Said goodnight to the family staying with us. Made sure everyone had what they needed. In the living room, I paused by the mantel. Mom's photo album sat there, the one Delora had inherited, but eventually given to me during her recovery. Keep it, she'd said. I'm not ready yet. I opened it to a random page. Found a picture of all of us from years ago. Me, Delora, Mom, and Dad. Christmas morning. We were all smiling, genuinely happy. Before money. Before greed. Before everything fell apart. That family was gone. But the memories remained. And maybe that was enough. 2 years later, the foundation was thriving. We'd helped over 50 families get back on their feet. The house was never empty. The fields were full of life. And me? I was happy. Really, genuinely happy in a way I hadn't been in years. I'd even started dating someone, Sarah, a volunteer who'd started helping out on weekends. She was kind and funny and understood what I was trying to build here. One Saturday in December, right before Christmas, I was setting up decorations when I heard a car pull up. I looked out the window and froze. Delora. She got out slowly, nervously. Looked at the house with something like wonder in her eyes. I met her at the door. Hi, she said quietly. Hi. I know I should have called, but I wanted to see it. What you did with the place. I studied her. She looked different. Thinner. Less makeup. Real clothes instead of designer labels. Her eyes were clear though. Present. Come in, I said. I gave her the tour, showed her the kitchen where families shared meals, the living room where kids did homework, the bedrooms that provided safety and rest. She didn't say much, just took it all in, tears occasionally sliding down her cheeks. "You did this," she said finally. "You made something beautiful out of all that pain. We all made it. It took a lot of people. But it was your vision." She looked at me. "I was so wrong about you, Calder. About everything."
Yeah.
"You were. Can I?" She hesitated. "Can I help? Volunteer or something? I don't expect anything. I just want to be part of something good." I thought about it, about second chances and redemption, and whether people really could change. "We have an orientation next month for new volunteers," I said finally. "If you're serious, show up. Do the work. Prove you mean it." She nodded, a small smile breaking through. "I will. I promise." She left a few minutes later. I stood on the porch watching her drive away, feeling something I hadn't felt toward my sister in years.
Hope.
That Christmas, I hung Dad's old wreath on the fence post for the first time since he died. The house was full of families, full of life, full of the kind of joy that comes from being safe and loved. Sarah and I cooked dinner for everyone. Turkey and ham and all the sides Mom used to make. The kids ran around excited. The adults actually relaxed. And somewhere in the middle of the chaos, I thought about that awful Christmas 2 years ago. The Apple Watches. The betrayal.
The pain.
All of it had led to this moment.
To this place.
To this purpose. I walked past the dining table, the same one where it all began, and smiled. Justice didn't shout. It didn't make a scene. It just quietly, steadily, changed the world one act of kindness at a time. Mom had been right about everything. Fairness isn't about the gifts we give. It's about the respect we keep, the love we show, the legacy we leave. And Dad's legacy, now mine, was alive and well in every family that walked through these doors. Later that evening, after everyone had gone to bed, I found Delora's photo album on the mantel. Opened it to that old Christmas picture. For people who'd loved each other once. Who'd lost their way. Who'd hurt each other deeply. But maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance for healing. I closed the album gently and whispered to the empty room. "Maybe one day you'll understand, Delaware. Maybe one day." Outside, snow began to fall. The house was warm. The fire crackled. Everything was exactly as it should be. And for the first time in my life, I understood what peace actually felt like. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next powerful true story. Drop a comment below about what family means to you. Your words might inspire someone who really needs it today. And if you know someone going through family struggles, share this video with them. Sometimes people need to know they're not alone. Thanks for being part of this community. Until next time, remember, real love doesn't shout. It just shows up.